What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Morello Show. So happy to be back. I, of course, am your host, Kyle Morello. Episode number 24. So we're working our way up. This is the Kobe episode. And we have a very special guest with us today. We have former Temple men's basketball star and current Westchester Knick Quinton Rose. Quinton, how we doing?
I'm doing good, man. I can't complain at all. I appreciate you having me on here.
Appreciate you being here. Any Temple grad that wants to come on, it can be on. You got the flag behind me. So yeah, so I mean let's get into it. So first things first, I do want to talk about Temple first. You were there all 4 years, right?
Yeah.
All 4 years. Okay. So you had a great career there. We saw winning, we saw, sometimes didn't make the tournament. That's okay. But you played under two great coaches. One's still being proven, of course, but one's, in the Big Five Hall of Fame and the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. That's Fran Dunphy. And of course, Aaron McKie. So playing under them, what was kind of a couple of differences that you may have seen between, Fran Dunphy's coaching style and Aaron McKie's coaching style?
I would say to start, like you said, those are two really good coaches, as you said. The difference between them, I would say, is Coach McKie, he was more so defensive oriented. I'm sure you can look up the numbers. Like when he became our coach, our defense skyrocketed. He was definitely more defensive oriented. But as far as coaching styles, Coach Dump was a guy that he would find ways to get you fired up and get you going. So for me, it was new. I had to adapt to that. Like my freshman year when I got there, I'm like, dang, why is he on my back like this? But I just realized once I started performing and I just kind of learned what he was doing. So that was the thing with him. And Coach McKie, he was more so detailed, we're gonna stick to the process and live with the outcomes type. And that's what we did. I mean, he changed our practice. Going into my senior year, that whole off season, we worked out at 6 a.m. every day in the summer. So I think it started with that, and he just built character. And honestly, I think it helped all of us being able to get up that early and function and be able to go hard like that.
Oh, no question. And I know, obviously he played under Coach Chaney when he was playing at Temple, and Coach Chaney was kind of like that same way where he would have players get up early and, kind of grind at practice, and the defensive oriented coaching style. Could you kind of, obviously not that you played under Chaney or anything like that. I'm sure you did meet him though. Did you kind of see where Coach McKie got that from when it came to Coach Chaney?
Yeah, definitely. It was very apparent. Even me, just if it was watching Old Temple, even if it was highlights, just you can see the way they played on defense, and it just embodies everything Coach McKie stands for. And honestly, I think one of the best things that I've honestly gotten from that, from working out, getting up early, getting my work done early in the morning, it was I got into the mindset that work comes first and then everything is after that. And when your days are actually structured like that, you know what I mean? It just gets stuck in your head and you start to live that way. And that's honestly, I'm still living by that now.
It just motivates you, honestly. I like getting up in the morning. Not that I like getting up in the morning. Let me rephrase that. I like it when I do get up in the morning. I feel so much more productive, and I'm not I don't love getting up, the whole process of that, but it does make you feel productive. Was that something kind of like you said he was trying to instill in you guys? And I guess, is that something that you've kind of continued now with your time with the Knicks and in the GLeague?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I don't control what time we practice now, but I mean, I still have the same mindset that when I get up, my first thought is what do I have to do to get ready for practice, no matter what time it is. And then if I want to enjoy myself or do something to have fun, it's just I'm in that mindset that comes after practice, no matter what time of the day.
I think that's a great mindset. I think that's the best mindset. Okay, so going back to your playing days at Temple, there was one game that I wanted to ask you about, because one of my favorite games I've ever attended, and I actually got the chance to cover it because I was with Al Sports Update. I don't know if you're familiar. It was Coach Dunphy's last home game. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was March 7th or something like that. Shiz's senior night. You guys were playing nationally ranked UCF team who had Johnny Dawkins was coach, obviously. Aubrey was one of their stars. They had Taco Fall, and his senior season. Do you have any lasting memories from that game in particular? Do you remember anything like kind of crazy, from that, or like just the atmosphere in general?
I would say I don't. I wouldn't say I remember anything crazy necessarily, but I definitely remember just the energy in the building was electric. Like it was crazy. It was like honestly, one of the most fun games I've ever played in my whole life. It was just like it was good to see like the whole Temple community wanted to see Coach Dump go out the right way. And us as players, we made an emphasis of that. That we just we had to get him. Like we had to get him for Coach Dump. And that's the way we went into the game. And I feel like everything from the start to finish, from the crowd, the fans, the bench, the coaches, us on the floor, like everything just said like we want to do this for Coach Dump. And that's what we did.
Absolutely. And it's not even just like it was some, regular Joe Schmo conference game at the end of the year. It was a nationally ranked UCF team, and that team almost beat Duke in the tournament. Did you guys like kind of, not that you weren't be intimidated at all, that's not what I was going to say, but like, did you have any like, okay, this team's good, like we got to step it up here, especially with, Taco Fall being a big story just due to his height in general. But was that something that you guys were thinking about?
No, I wouldn't say that because myself, and especially that team, those players, we all tried to have the same mindset going into every game, like no matter the opponent. But obviously, this game was a little special because it was senior night. It was Coach Dump's last game in the Accor Center. You know what I mean? And that game really had serious NCAA tournament implications on it. So that was a huge game. But I wouldn't say we were necessarily struck by the opponent. I don't want to say because we didn't overlook any opponents.
No, and I mean, obviously you played up to it, and you guys were a tournament team that year. I mean, that game locked you guys in the tournament, so that was incredible. Do you remember the one dunk that you had in that game? I'm pretty sure it was a Sports Center top 10 dunk.
It was.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah. I remember. So I think it was in the second half. The baseline that you guys were scoring on in the second half, I was on the baseline with the camera for Al Sports Update, and I'm pretty sure I still have a shot of that. And if I do, it's getting included in here. Probably on my old laptop because this is a new one. But that was, I mean, it's just especially because I think you guys might have been down early and then came back in that game. And that I don't know if I've ever heard the Leocore Center ladder. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I definitely remember that. That's one of the moments that has stuck with me forever from college. I remember that my teammates were so amped, the crowd was into it. I was amped myself. It was dope. It was a good moment. I
One of the
remember that
best.
for a long time.
I was gonna say it was one of the best I've ever seen in person. I mean, just with the atmosphere and the stakes of the game, and like you said, Coach Dunst's last game, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Going back to your teammates, because you just mentioned them. Did you have like, maybe not single out one, of course, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but did you have like a few teammates that you just really kind of meshed with when you were at Temple that you loved playing with? Was there just a few of them?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I mean, I like playing with everybody. I don't think it was a single guy at Temple I didn't enjoy playing with. But obviously, I definitely like meshed with some players better. I don't know if it was due to playing styles or off the court relationships, but I definitely, I would say Shiz, Dre, even Jake Forrester. I only played with him 1 year, but I like playing with him a lot. And me and Nate, I like getting, we were both guys that like to get steals, get on transition and run. So that was always fun with him. But yeah, honestly, I can say I meshed well with everybody I played with.
I mean, I can see that you guys obviously, especially your junior year, was a tournament team, and we was a damn good team. Nate Pierre Louis won co-defensive player of the year. You just mentioned you with getting out in transition with steals and everything. That was a fun team. That was a really, really fun team. Do you kind of, this year, they're starting to play really, really well. Obviously, they're young and they've had some injuries. And there's a couple of your teammates that are still there playing this year. Obviously, one of them is Jake Forrester. Ty Strickland was a transfer who wasn't playing yet, but he's still there too. What do you kind of see from this team? Maybe not this year per se, but going forward, like, do you like what you've been seeing? Do you think the Coach McKee's defensive mindset, you can kind of see that on the court? Like, how do you see this core that Temple has right now kind of going forward?
The thing I like most about this team, honestly, is that you can tell on the defensive end that they're brought in across the board, like from the top of the coaching staff to the bottom of the roster. Everybody's on the same page with that, especially on defense. And it's working for them. It's getting them wins. They're grinding out tough conference wins. And you know what I mean? It's good to see, especially from a young team. And because it's like you see how good they are now. So it's like you get to thinking like how good can they be when they become juniors and seniors and stuff. So I'm really excited. The future's pretty bright for this team.
They really are. And they have, it's not even just like it's a mix between like, sophomores and juniors. Maybe next year they'll be like the senior team, kind of like you guys were. There are a lot of freshmen on that team.
Yeah.
Obviously, Forster's a either redshirt junior or junior. Strickland's a redshirt sophomore, I think, and then the rest are freshmen, which is crazy. Like, do you think this will be not only just for the next couple of years with this core and the tournament aspirations, but do you see this kind of like as a building ground for the program to get back to where you guys once were?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And honestly, it's not just because of the players, not just because of the coaches. I think it's everything combined. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just talked about electric games, like how the Leah Chorus Center got for Coach Dump's last birthday. Like, coming out of high school, every player wants to play in something like that. Like, you experience that. Like, it's hard to turn something like that down. And turning it out in such a good school, in a nice location. Philly's one of the best locations. Like, that's one of my favorite cities in the country, honestly.
That's right.
But playing for that coaching staff who cares for you and wants you to be the best version of you, it'll be hard to say no once you start seeing the wins accumulating, racking up the tournament, they're touching the tournament, winning the conference. And I honestly see that for this group of guys, especially with them being so young. So I definitely think it's the turn and the start of something really good over there.
I absolutely agree. And I think last year was tough. And I think people got kind of a misconception of what the program's about because, it was the COVID year and games got canceled and all that. But I think this year you're kind of really seeing what Coach McKee's building, which is great. Going back to, choosing Temple and Philly being great, which Philly's pretty great. I mean, that's my home city. So do love that. When I was texting you about sitting in traffic, I was sitting in Philly traffic. So you know what that's about.
Yeah, we all know.
You know all about that, but you're upstate New York kid. You're from Rochester, right? So what made you want to choose Temple and what kind of appealed to you, when you're going through your recruiting process that maybe say, I want to be an owl?
Temple was one of those schools that recruiting me, they didn't promise me anything. Like, you know how some schools like, yeah, you come here, you'll have this, you'll have this. That was one of the few schools that didn't promise me anything. And when I was going through the process, I tried to go through and I often talk with my parents, but I tried to filter out schools that stood out to me, that I also thought that I could be productive and get everything I wanted out of the college experience. And when it was time to make my decision, Temple just checked all the boxes. I mean, I took an unofficial visit there the sophomore before my sophomore before my junior, my sophomore year of high school. I took an unofficial and I fell in love with the campus. It was dope, man. It was one of the first schools I ever saw like that in depth. Like I really saw everything in Temple, but I mean, I saw schools after and they just didn't feel the same. Like Temple just felt like home, honestly. So it was really making that decision was a no-brainer.
And I mean, obviously much different situations, but when I was, trying to make my college decision too, that was one of the things that stood out to me too. I mean, I feel like it kind of gets a bad rep because it's, not in the best area and it's a city school. So there's not really a whole lot of, people probably perceive it's not a lot of like green grass and, oh, it's not like actual college, but like there's a campus and it's nice and it's very easy to get around and the city's right there. Like, was that like part of your experience too when you were there? You're just like, this feels unreal.
Yeah, it was so different, and it was different, but I was comfortable in it, and it was weird at first. It was like, dang, I could really see myself here. But this was me, like 16, 17 years old, thinking that. So, and then once I the coaches continued recruiting me. I started learning more and more about each coach on the coaching staff. They always would reach out to me. It was just somewhere I definitely saw myself being.
I can obviously see that. And hey, we're all glad that you chose Temple, so I'm not complaining. Definitely have to ask you a couple Philly food questions though. First one's going to be related to Temple. We'll keep it at Temple for right now. What was your favorite spot on campus? I gotta know.
Favorite spot? I would say Pub Webb's Wings, undefeated.
Yep.
But I gotta go with Tropical Smoothie.
Okay. I don't think I ever had tropical smoothie.
Really?
Yeah.
It started getting a little watered down towards my senior year, but freshman year I was there almost every day, honestly.
Wow. It's impressive. All right. So what was your go-to order then?
Strawberry kiwi quencher, but it was strawberry and kiwi.
Okay.
And then Chipotle chicken pub grilled.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Okay. I was fully expecting you to say Richie's because that's what everybody says. But
See, Richie's only because Richie's was good, but I never like when I was going to class, it was always too packed. Like I wasn't one of
so
those
many people.
walking around if I didn't have to. If I was walking around, I was going to class, going to practice, or you know what I mean. So anytime I was going to class, I would have been late trying to stop there. So I never really could get the full effect of Richie's.
I listen, I get that because those lines were crazy. I mean, you saw them obviously. I think the only times I really actually got it was either if my class was let out earlier, or like if
And that's why I tried it. I got out of class early and I walked by, there was no line. I'm like, all right, this is my chance to see what the hype is about. It was good though. I liked it.
and you have to take the chances because like you hear so much about it. I liked it too. Richie was great. I actually was like low key thinking about seeing if I wanted to get Richie's on here at one point. So I might have to do that.
Pretty cool dude too. He's cool. I talked to him a lot, see him on campus. He always spoke. He's really cool. So that would be dope if you get him on here.
It would. He is really cool. I mean, even I probably ordered there less than 10 times like throughout my entire time there just because, the line's obviously insane. But I'm pretty sure after like 3 or 4 times, he would just see my face and be like, oh, sausage and cheese on a bagel.
Yeah,
Like,
he remember my order. I went there a total of probably 3. And after that first one, he knew exactly what I wanted. And like even some days I'll be rushing to class and see me walking by, like through the crowd of people. He would ask me if I wanted, like he'd scream my order out and ask me if I wanted. I'm good, I don't have time. But yeah, he's a really good guy though.
he's the man. He's the man. And then I guess, in Philadelphia food in general, we're obviously gonna have to talk about cheesesteaks because, that's our bread. That's our bread and butter. Did you have a favorite place that you went to throughout your 4 years in the city?
All right, so mine's just gonna be a little weird because I'm the type like when I find a new food that I like, I eat it so much that I like never want to eat it again sometimes.
Fair.
That was the case with cheesesteaks. I was just when I first got there, like that summer before my freshman year, I was just trying cheesesteaks from a whole bunch of places. And I got tired of them before school even started, like before like official college. So it'll be tough for me to answer. But if I had to answer one, I would say Larry's on Girard.
Okay. Never had Larry's.
It was great actually.
Damn.
That's probably I had the most time. Definitely the one I had the most time.
I mean, it's fairly close to campus, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Larry's. I'll have to try Larry's. Never had Larry's. I think my favorite would probably be, it's tough. I always say D'Alessandro's to people, and D'Alessandro's is really good, but John's roast pork down in South Philly is awesome.
Never had them.
Gotta try that. They
Ishkabibbles is.
I've heard Ishkabibbles is good.
That's a close second.
Okay, I'll have to try that one too. I've heard that's really good. Another one I was gonna say was Angelo's. They're obviously a pizza place too, but Angelo's cheesesteaks are very good. So if you're ever back in town, definitely try them.
I'm there a lot. I'll definitely try it out. I think I can do it. Took enough time off.
It's been what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah.
I think you might be all right. I think you might be all right. All right. Couple questions. I want to ask you some things about your time with GLeague and the Knicks too. One thing that's like probably kind of tricky a little bit with GLeague is guys coming up and down between the pro clubs and whatnot. Obviously, 2 guys this year that you've probably got to see and play with is Deuce McBride and Jericho Sims.
Yeah.
What first of all, like like what has your experience been like playing with them? I know they haven't been there a ton because they've been, on the bench with the Knicks, but like have you seen why they should be in the league? Like what's kind of your take on them?
Yeah, both of those guys are special, man. I'm not gonna lie. Just being on the court with them, you really see how special they really are. I mean, obviously, from watching, you probably think so too. But like seeing it close, like up close and personal, like just being on the court side by side with them is really, really like they're really special, man. Like Jericho, he's strong, jumps out the gym. Like the way he just affects the game, just from those two aspects alone, is you know what I mean? Like block shots, rebounding, throwing lobs. And you can throw it like you can throw a lob, you just throw it anywhere. He's gonna go get it.
Throw it above
So
the backboard, and you can get it.
he's just hitting his head on the rim every time, honestly. And Deuce, what's special about him to me is he's so relentless offensively and defensively. Like it's rare that you see a guy handle the ball as much as he does and make plays for others as well as himself and pick up full court the whole game
It's crazy.
and doesn't you know what I mean? Doesn't really make bad decisions. So he's really special. And every time I watch him, I just think he gets better.
I don't think I've ever seen someone, at least like at the pro level, consistently when he's, had his little chunk of playing time, which side note should be a lot more, and we can get into that. But say that again. Sorry.
I would agree.
Yes, yes. But like I don't see anyone picking up full court anymore. And he does it. And he did it at West Virginia too. I remember, last year when they were playing Oklahoma State and he was picking up Cade Cunningham full court in the Big 12 tournament. I was like, who are you? But it's Deuce McBride.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about, what's going on in New York. Obviously, the season's not going on great. I'm a Knicks fan, so I can say these things, but they need to play Deuce McBride. They need a point guard, and they have a point guard who's there and ready. He can dish out. I mean, every time he plays for you guys in Westchester, he's averaging like 23 and 9 or something crazy like that. Like, do you think he's ready?
I think he's ready, man. I mean, I'm not the one making decisions. I'm sure there's a reason. I don't know what it is, but I admire his game, honestly. He's
I'm not gonna get you in trouble, don't you worry. But I agree. He should get more playing time for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But anyway, moving on. So the G League life. I don't know if I've even heard a ton of people kind of talk about that. What's it been like? I mean, you've been there for a couple of years now. Like, what's kind of your, I don't even want to say day to day, but like, what are kind of some of the things you go through that maybe differ from, college or anything else?
I wouldn't say it's too different from college as far as the overall setup. I mean, we travel a lot, go from city to city, sometimes touch 3 different cities in a week. Not home as much, so that's all really the same. But I mean, the different thing about the G League is that honestly, the biggest difference to me, like for me personally,
Yeah.
is that I'm somebody that like when I play with people and I just naturally get close to them, like I want to hang out with them, obviously off the court, you know what I mean? But in the G, like not even just in the G League, as a professional period, you got to think like some of these guys have families, some have girlfriends, some like they have their own lives. Like we're not in college anymore, we're all living the same life, basically. So that was probably the biggest difference I had to get used to. Like I spend a lot more time by myself now than I ever did.
And I'm sure it's an adjustment because like you said, with college, everybody's in a common place, especially on a team too. I mean, you guys are with each other all the time. Not that you're not now, but it's just different. Interesting. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, one more thing before we go. We were just talking about the G League life. I want to talk a little bit about NBA Summer League. I was there this year, so I actually got to see you guys play. So that was pretty cool. It was my first time there, my first time in Vegas. So that was great. What was kind of your experience with that? Was it, different than G League? I mean, obviously it's different because you have different guys trying to make roster spots. Like, what was kind of your Summer League experience?
The summer league experience was really cool, man. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't. I'll be lying if I said that I wasn't kind of upset at the time, like wanting to play more. But I mean, it's all a part of it. Like I knew what that, like stuff like that happened. I knew that since I was 10 years old before I even decided this was really what I wanted to do. So at the end of the day, it was like, how mad can you really be? You know what I mean? There's tons of players that have been through this, bounce back from it. So I just used it as a good experience, which is what it was. I learned a ton, played with some really good players. You know what I mean? Learned something from each and every player I was around. And honestly, I just developed relationships on and off the court that I feel like they'll benefit me somewhere along the line.
Hey, and that's the best part about it. I mean, even when I was going there with my friends, like, yeah, we wanted to have fun. And obviously, I'm sure you had fun, being on the team and playing and everything. But it is also a way to kind of build relationships and, get to know people. So I'm sure that aspect of it was also pretty fun for you. One more question about Vegas. Did you have Raising Cane's while you were out there?
Of course, can't miss an opportunity. Things. Now they got one in Philly, which is about 4 or 5 years away from me. But I won't complain.
Can't complain. I mean, hey, that was the first time I tried it when I was out there this year, and life changing. They're building one at Temple. So yeah, no, Raising Cane's was great. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. All right. Well, I won't keep too much of your time, but I appreciate you very much, Quinton Rose, for joining us today. What was I gonna say? Oh, for Summer League. I hope I don't see you next year because that means you're too big for Summer League now, which is, the goal we're trying to get to. But if I do happen to see you next year at Summer League, I'll definitely have to come by and say hi at some point. So
yeah, for sure, man. Put me up.
Absolutely. Absolutely will. Again, hope you're not there because that means you're bigger than Summer League. But if you do happen to be there, definitely will hit you up and it'll be a good time. So Summer League is also always very fun. And that's all I got. So thank you again, Quinton, for coming on. Very much appreciate that. Go Owls, first and foremost. Absolutely. Anytime, you're more than welcome to come back. And of course, thank you guys for tuning in and listening every week. Much appreciated. Make sure you follow the Morello Show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can subscribe on YouTube if you want. We also got the Apple Podcast now. So if you don't want to see all of this, which I understand, my girlfriend will disagree, but everybody else might not. And she'll be watching this. So hi, Shelby. But yeah, Apple Podcast is available too for you guys to listen. And that's all I got. So we'll see you next week.
Sir, appreciate you, man.